Hello, class. My name is Alvin, and today I'll be talking about cloud and grid computing. Cloud and grid computing are similar in theory, both require substantial computer network infrastructures. Grid computing is a hardware and software framework that combines databases for resource sharing. Now, with cloud computing, is mostly considered as a new generation of grid computing by accessing resources on a as needed basis. The main concept behind grid and cloud computing is to manage resources over the internet.
Hi guys, my name is Han. Today I'm going to talk about grid computing, advantages and disadvantages of grid computing in the next slides. The grid can be thought of as a distributed system with non-interactive workloads that involve a large number of files. To be more specific, grid computing is a technique in which the idle systems in the network and their wasted CPU cycles can be efficiently used by uniting pools of servers, storage systems, and networks into a single large virtual system for resource sharing dynamically at runtime. These systems can be distributed across the globe. Now that we've talked about definition of a grid, here's a question arises. So what is grid computing? Well, as you can see in this figure, grid computing is applying the resources of many computers in a network to a single problem at the same time, usually to a scientific or technical problem that requires a great number of computer processing cycles or access to large amounts of data.
So, you might be asking yourself, what is cloud computing? Well, cloud computing is the delivery of on demand computing resources over the internet that is delivered on a pay for use basis. The use of cloud computing provides an alternative solution to using a computer's hard drive. Now, there are various different types of cloud computing services. The first that I would like to discuss is software as a service. This consists of applications that are based in the cloud, yet can operate on a computer from a place far, far away. These machines are also owned and controlled by people who connect to other computers via an online web browser. This could be Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, etc. And finally, software as a service can be accessed from any computer, regardless of where you are and if the computer physically breaks. The next form of cloud computing that I will discuss is platform as a service. This particular service gives you the tools needed to support the building and delivery of cloud-based applications. This option helps to eliminate the need to purchase and supervise hardware, provisioning, and hosting. Furthermore, it allows for the timely launch of new web applications to the cloud. The final service that I will mention in this presentation is infrastructure as a service. This option gives organizations all of the computing tools they could ever imagine. For example, servers, networking capabilities, and even storage and space for a data center. Additionally, infrastructure as a service is issued on a pay-per-pay basis and eliminates the need to invest in hardware. However, one of its biggest advantages is that it provides a scalable infrastructure that can adjust with the needs and demands of a business. Before moving on, it is also important to note that there are several different kinds of clouds. First is a public cloud. You can probably imagine what that is, but I'm going to still tell you anyways. A public cloud is owned and operated by organizations that offer access to a public network at a cost that doesn't break the bank. On the other hand, a private cloud is only made available to one specific organization. Typically, it is operated by someone internally within the company or by a third party. The final kind of cloud is a hybrid. This uses the general building blocks of a private cloud while including certain public cloud services as well.
Grid computing has been around for over 12 years now, and its advantages play an important role in business and technology today. From the business perspective of view, it improves efficiency by improving computational capabilities, bringing together not only IT resources but also people. It also creates flexible, resilient operational infrastructures. From the technology perspective of view, it federates data and distributes it globally. It also supports large multidisciplinary collaboration across organizations and business. It has the ability to run large-scale applications comprising thousands of computes for a wide range of applications. It also reduces signal latency, which is the delay that builds up as data are transmitted over the internet. The first disadvantage concerns the relative immaturity of the concept. This is especially noticeable when talking about the missing features, non-defined standards, and software. On the subject of software, some applications require modifications in order to use all the benefits of grid computing. It is also important to mention that applications which are not designed to use an MPI, which is message passing interface, will have to revert to an SMP, which is symmetric multiprocessing. The biggest disadvantage of grid computing concerns processes and their results. More specifically, the result of all processes are sent first on all nodes within the grid and then collaboratively assessed. Before the final assessment is made, it is not possible to define or to declare a final outcome. This is particularly a problem when talking about time-sensitive projects. Furthermore, another important disadvantage of grid computing is that it relies heavily on dispersed data management and connectivity.
Advantages and disadvantages of cloud computing. Cloud computing provides flexibility and control for businesses of all shapes and sizes to host, manage, and back up the same applications and business processes without worrying about using the same operating system, software, or browser. While cloud computing is becoming a general process of software and hardware systems, operations provide several advantages, including potential cost savings for many mid-sized to large businesses. On the other hand, with cloud computing, there are several different disadvantages to be considered, including potential security concerns and the possibility of downtime. Advantages of cloud computing. Cloud computing is cost efficient, unlimited storage capabilities, reduced support and hardware needs, backup and recovery, accessibility, collaboration, environmental friendly. Cloud computing helps organizations collaborate, store, and access files online anytime, anywhere, from any device. With cloud computing, computers can reduce the size of their own data centers or eliminate their data centers altogether. The reduction of the number of servers, the software costs, and the number of staff can significantly reduce IT costs without impacting an organization's IT capabilities. Many businesses usually make payments for the cloud based on the actual workload and resources they use. Information in the cloud is kept securely by providing layers of security features such as antivirus programs and firewalls to make sure unauthorized users do not have to access to confidential files. Cloud computing gives organizations a backup strategy in the event of a disaster. A backup strategy can help businesses recover faster after data has been lost. Lastly, the cloud provides unlimited storage, providing ease of mind about how much storage is being used altogether. Disadvantages of the cloud: compatibility issues, downtime, security threats, lack of support, data ownership, slow speeds, and dependency. Cloud computing has many advantages for business by reducing costs and allow them to focus on fundamental business advancements rather than IT and infrastructure issues. Outages and downtime are two of the most important aspects that even the best provider of cloud computing cannot absolutely guarantee. Also, you must keep in mind that the whole setup is internet based. Thus, any downtime on the internet side will lead to a connectivity issue. Cloud outages or downtime can hinder businesses with workflow and require massive costs on repairs. With the rise of cloud computing technologies, also increases major security threats such as data breaches, data loss, and security vulnerabilities. In terms of support for cloud computing, it's essential to know which provider offers support just in case something goes wrong. Many cloud providers do not offer customer service, leaving many companies to figure things out on their own. Data ownership in the cloud is a complicated issue while storing and moving data to a cloud provider. Terms of service should be read before using any cloud provider to assure data ownership of personal data uploaded to a cloud is still owned by the customer. Cloud computing requires a stable and working internet connection. However, without a stable and working internet connection, the cloud will not be accessible at all. To conclude, cloud computing has many advantages and disadvantages. Before totally going into cloud, it's best to explore different cloud providers to see if this provider is a great asset to your business or not.
Hello, my name is Kelly Corey, and we're going to be discussing some trends and predictions in cloud computing. Cloud platforms are becoming more popular and redefining how businesses are dealing with data. For example, many businesses are using mobile devices instead of traditional desktop office computers, meaning that employees can use smartphones and tablets to perform day-to-day tasks. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and other virtual platforms have enabled millions to connect, share, and leverage technology to enhance their life experiences. These platforms are different shapes of the cloud, which enables rapid development and scalability. Driven largely by the Internet of Things, cloud performance will become more critical in the coming years. As the IoT gains momentum, it will require high-performance cloud infrastructure to enable efficient data processing and decision-making in real time. Without a doubt, Internet of Things technology will be disruptive across a variety of industries, and businesses large and small will need to have a plan in place to handle this disruption to their ecosystem. The Internet of Things will require a highly responsive, scalable infrastructure to successfully derive value from such massive amounts of data. Cloud will become central to IoT infrastructure to enable instant calculations and analysis that will influence supply chain decisions. Technavio is a major market research firm that analyzes market share and predicts trends. Their 2016 report on cloud computing determined the top vendors by analyzing what portion of overall revenue in the market was generated by each vendor. However, the Technavio report focuses on cloud storage and backup vendors and does not include infrastructure as a service or software as a service vendors. Apps Run the World, another technology market research firm, also compiled a list of the top 500 vendors based on revenue, growth, and market share. The Apps Run the World report includes vendors that provide both IaaS, SaaS, PaaS, and cloud storage and backup. The list presented here synthesizes the information from both reports, focusing on the top 5 vendors that showed up on both. Because cloud computing is a successor to grid computing, there's sufficient overlap between cloud computing vendors and grid computing vendors to group them into one list. A further in-depth look at each vendor will be presented on the succeeding slides. Our first vendor that we're going to look at is Commvault. Commvault mainly offers data management via hybrid cloud backup. They also partner with other cloud and backup vendors, including Microsoft and Hitachi Data Systems, and their specialty is data security. They were ranked among the top 5 on the Technavio report. Salesforce is another major vendor. What they offer is customer relationship services, sales platform management. As of right now, they occupy 10.93% of the cloud apps market share. That's according to the Apps That Run the World report. And year over year, they have a growth rate of 21.14%, which was amongst the highest growth rates. Interestingly enough, Microsoft, with its Azure cloud computing systems, is high on the list of vendors for cloud computing. What they offer is services in every area of cloud computing, primarily through their Azure platform. They may only have 5.19% of the market share, but they still are showing almost 20% growth year over year. And considering their name brand recognition and integration into our current infrastructure, it would not be surprising to see them continue to grow. Oracle is another major name brand in infrastructure and service support systems for corporations. They've made their name in terms of supports for personnel services. They are now reaching out into every other area of cloud computing, SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS. So that's software as a service, infrastructure as a service, and platform as a service. So they occupy a smaller share of the market than the previous two corporations at only 3.88%, but they have an amazing 47.71% growth year over year, which is incredibly high. And it is likely that with continued investment, they are going to continue to grow in this area. SAP is another major vendor in cloud computing who primarily focuses on infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service. While they only occupy about 5.43% of the market share, they do have a growth rate of 84.08% growth year over year, by far the highest of any of the companies looked at today. In addition to the companies mentioned, other major players in the cloud computing market are IBM, Apple, and Amazon. IBM, Apple, and Amazon are all major players. However, they occupy lower market shares than the previously mentioned vendors, and they also have lower growth rates year over year than the other previously mentioned vendors. Of course, there was not enough time to address every single vendor and the pros and cons of each. However, it should be noted that due to the growing market, there are more than enough options for any company looking to move its infrastructure, services, or software to a cloud platform.
As we conclude our presentation, it is important to recap the similarities between cloud and grid computing, while also recognizing their differences as well. Grid computing uses several computers in various locations to act as one virtual machine. On the other hand, cloud computing consists of a large cluster of computers that can be accessed via the internet. The advantages of grid computing range from improved efficiency to better flexibility with operational infrastructures, while cloud computing provides a more cost-efficient option along with unlimited storage capabilities. Disadvantages of the cloud can be security risk and slow speed, whereas grid computing can cause concern for resource sharing and licensing challenges. Moving forward, cloud computing will allow for businesses to meet organization needs more efficiently and continue to be a driving factor behind the evolution of business technology. Thank you so much for your time today. Now, the floor is yours for questions.